I want to share my hobbies with people on the internet. As a person who is traveling full time pretty much in the moment in an RV, what kind of hobbies can one have? I want to share some of mine and maybe some other people on the internet who are also in a similar situation. Maybe you are also traveling around. What kind of hobbies do you have? This is obviously the sorts of things outside of hiking and sightseeing and all of those sorts of things. So the types of hobbies that I do in and around the RV. My main and probably favorite hobby is to crochet. I started learning crochet about a year and a bit ago, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things to make is probably toys. Not for any particular reason. I just think that it's really neat to be able to make these sorts of things. And another thing with crochet, it's quite easy to take your crochet hooks and all of your other crochet things onto an airplane when you're traveling. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like with knitting, if I was to knit or if I was to sew, the pointy needles in knitting and sewing would be a problem on airplanes. So I've tried to stay away from those. So I've made quite a few things since I've started traveling. So since February, a couple of things that I made while I was still in Southeast Asia as well. But I'll probably mostly talk about the stuff that I've made since I've come to the US. So on the plane to the USA, I started making a little Pokemon character for a friend of mine in Australia. And so this, if you don't recognize it, it's Snorlax. So I bought the pattern from Etsy, and I think he came out really, really cute. So this is why I quite like to make these little characters, because, it's nice and fluffy. Very, very cute. After Snorlax, for the same friend who was studying to be a chef, I again went and bought a pattern on Etsy and made this little chef character. And again, I'm really, really, really proud of this little chef. I think he's so cute. Chef and Snorlax, they're both pretty cute. The next one was a little bit of, I don't know if it was a fail or not. I don't really know if I like it, but I took a bunch of these are called granny squares for those of you who are not really familiar with crochet. And I kind of made a little bum bag. The idea was to put a zip across the top, and then I could sort of tie it around my waist. But I'm not too sure about it. It looks kind of funky, but yeah, I just haven't really decided yet. So I haven't really used it. And part of the reason why I haven't really used this yet is because I kind of came up with a plan B, or plan number two for storing my stuff when I'm outside. So before I get to that plan B, or the second thing, when I run out of crochet to make, which does happen from time to time, I just make these little granny squares with whatever yarn I have in my little yarn bag. So this is the other good thing about crochet, is that it doesn't necessarily take up a lot of space. I've got this kind of recycled bag. It used to have like a doona in it or something like that, and it's just got my bits of yarn in there. So the reason why I kind of gave up a little bit on the bum bag is I started making a backpack. Again, this was a pattern that I found online. I used a nylon, it's like a nylon string. So I bought this nylon string at Walmart, and I was hoping that I'd only need one set or one roll of this nylon string. But I'm coming to the realization that I'm going to need another roll, and I've been to 2 other Walmarts so far and I have not found it. So that sucks. But this is so far as I've gotten with my little backpack. So you can see the base, and then these are the sides. So for this one, I've actually used a different stitch. So I'm never really used this stitch before. It's called a knit stitch or a waistcoat stitch, and it's really difficult to do. It's really, really annoying, but it's given me lots to occupy myself with when we're not going anywhere, when we're not driving. So that's my main and my favorite hobby. But I have another couple of things that I do to keep myself busy. So the other thing that I do when I can get outside is obviously vehicle maintenance. And that's why I've started making some of these videos, because as I'm learning, I want to share with other people how the things that I learned, maybe somebody else can be inspired to learn as well. And then reading. So I love libraries. I absolutely love libraries. And when we're traveling, of course, we're not even from the US. It's very difficult to borrow books from libraries. But some of the libraries that we've been to, they've been selling some older books, or less used books. So some of them you can pick them up for like $2. So I got me a book here about anthropology. So the first bunch of anthropologists, I suppose, in the United States. And this is quite an interesting little read. Basically, they were sort of a bit of anti-racism and anti-sexism anthropologists. So these people, so that's pretty cool. This book, Ayn Rand, I believe that she was sort of the founding, or she was a big influence on the way that American capitalism works today. So I really don't at all agree with a lot of her stuff, but I find it kind of quite interesting just to see where origins of things have come from. So I haven't started that just yet, but I've read one of her other books, Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged. Really long book, really, really long, but not the most boring book. And beginning Spanish. So about almost a year ago now, I've started Spanish on Duolingo. And if you don't know what Duolingo is, I'll try and show you just, maybe I'll put a little picture up later of Duolingo. Really cute green owl. I just love I love the little noises that Duolingo makes and the little dances that he does when you've done things right and all that sort of stuff. I absolutely love it. So about a year ago, I started learning Spanish on Duolingo. Before that, I learned Indonesian, so I can do sort of conversational Indonesian now. The downside with my Spanish learning is I don't have money to spend on like tutors and things like that. So unfortunately, when I was learning Indonesian, I had tutors, I joined classes, all of that sort of thing. But with Spanish, I've really been kind of learning by myself, and I've really feel the difference. Like I don't have a lot of confidence in terms of speaking Spanish, or I try to listen. Now that we're in the US, there's a lot of people who speak Spanish, so I try to listen. So if you have any cool resources for me where I can practice conversations, or if of very affordable classes, online classes that I can join, or anything like that, please do reach out and let me know, because I really do want to be able to learn this language a bit more. I love learning languages. It's quite fun. But this book, I don't know if you can really see the cover because it's really old. It's actually it's because it's upside down, that's why you can't see it. It's actually from the 70s or something like that, but it seems pretty concise. It seems pretty clear, all the different rules that they have in this book. But because I've been reading the other book, the Gods of the Upper Air, I haven't really gotten to this one yet. And then the last thing that I sort of have been spending a little bit of my time on recently is just learning a bit more about the Buddhist philosophy. And that's why I sometimes talk about why I try to talk about Buddhist philosophy in my videos. I think the mindfulness, or like the meditation aspect, works in really well with crochet. If you're really focused on your crochet, some of the meditations that people do in Buddhism, it's like a single focus. So your single focus could be on your breathing, or your single focus can be on your walking, or whatever it is that you're doing, or maybe you can just be looking at something. So my single focus is just doing the stitches on crochet. And then sometimes you find your mind sort of starting to wander, just like you do in meditation, and then you can bring yourself back and just focus on the stitches. So it's a really, really nice mindful activity. So learning a bit more about Buddhism. And then another thing that I've been doing is learning a bit more about Stoicism. So I have a book that I've downloaded on Audible, and it has a sort of a Stoic idea for each day. So I've been listening to those and just really trying to absorb a lot of the messages from Stoicism. I think a lot of it ties in really well with Buddhism as well. One of the favorites obviously being that everything outside of your mind is outside of your control. So the way that you think about things, the way that you judge things, the way that you interpret things, that's all within your control. But the things that are being interpreted, the things that you are judging, those sorts of things are outside of your control. So that's something that you can't worry about. So just my little favorite message of Stoicism. So if you have any other hobbies, if somebody is watching this video and is also sort of traveling full time and has got some sort of creative hobby or anything like that, please let me know. If you guys know about any resources where I can learn better Spanish, let me know. Otherwise, I will make another video when I can.